After completing my 10th class exams in 1979, my father suggested that I go and help my father's uncle and learns astrology. Mathematics being my favorite subject, I learned the calculations. My grandfather taught me how to calculate the inclinations of each planet and how to calculate the lagna and the meridian center MC. And he gave me some birth charts to draw. Thus, I learned how to draw the birth charts first and showed interest in predictions. So my grandfather told me some predictions, some of the tips that he usually uses for predictions. And after learning those tips, I documented some of them. I verified with my father. While my father and my grandfather have laid the foundation for me to get interested in astrology, for almost a decade or 2 decades, I didn't show any interest. Welcome to Sastry Karra's astrological series. This is the series where I'm going to talk about the Vivah Vilamb for both male and female natives. In this presentation, this is the fifth part of my presentation where I'm going to take exclusively one female chart and then explain in detail what are the astrological reasons behind that particular native to remain, the female native to remain unmarried as of now. The native was born in 1989 November. That means this is September 2019. That means it's almost 30 years. 89 to 2019 is 30 years old. The native is 30 years old, residing in India. So as per the Indian culture, religion and the society, the native who is the female who is 30 years old is considered to be unmarried, and there might be some astrological issues because of which the native might not got married. So let me take this opportunity to explain in detail why the native is unmarried even at the age of 30. And I want to exclusively say that this particular chart has been taken for educational purposes only. Please view this video for educational purposes only. Thank you. Here is the native that was born on 12th November 1989 around 7:30 a.m. in India. And what you see is in the chart, what you can see is the native's Lagna, which is Scorpio. That means the Lagnadipati is Mars and the 7th house lord is Venus. The 7th house lord is Venus. So once you see that in this chart, what you can see initially is that the natives, all the planets that are positioned here, let me just go through them. In the Lagna, the first house, there's no other planet. So the Lagna, the first house is completely empty. And then comes the second house. The second house is Kutumbasthanamu. When you are talking about marriage, possibility of getting married or a marital life after marriage, what you need to know is look at the second house. The second house, you have Saturn and you have Venus. Saturn is a third and fourth house lord. Venus is the 12th and 7th house lord. So here itself you can say that the 7th house lord Venus and the 12th house lord Venus is been co-joined with a natural malefic Saturn, who is also the lord of the 4th house. Now go to the 5th house. The 5th house lord is Jupiter. Second and 5th house lord is Jupiter. And in 3rd house you have Rahu. The 4th house is empty. Since Saturn is in the second house, its third aspect is on the 4th house. So not only that Saturn is ruling the Kutumbasthanamu, it is also having a control on the 4th house, its own house, which is the 4th house is Sukhasthanamu. The 5th house is empty. The 6th house, the most important thing is the 6th house when you talk about marriage, because that's a house of separation. In the 6th house, what you see is moon. The moon is Matrakaraka for women. The 7th house is empty. In the 2nd and the 5th house Lord Jupiter is residing in the 8th house. The 9th house, because Rahu is residing in the 3rd house, you have Ketu in the 9th house. And then 10th, 11th, it's empty. Go to the 12th house. In the 12th house, you see Mars, Sun, and Mercury. Let's try one more time. Mars is the Lagnadipati and the 6th house Lord. Sun is the 10th house Lord, but Sun is in Libra, which is the 12th house. That means Sun is in debiliated or Sun is Nicha. So the 10th house Lord is debiliated. Since it has no relation with when it comes to marriage, we don't need to worry about that. And then comes the next one is Mercury. Mercury is the 11th and the 8th house Lord. So you see here, the 8th house Lord is co-joined with the 1st house Lord and the 6th house Lord Mars. This is very important at this point to consider. Just keep in mind that these things, when we go deep into the analysis, you will find out how this combination would have created the havoc in the Netu's life. Now that we had gone through the planets' positions in the Rashi chart, let's start analyzing just the planets based upon its positions. The first and the foremost thing what I usually do is, when I'm trying to find out the possibility of a Netu getting married, I look at the 7th house and the 12th house, because 7th house is Kalatrasthanamu, 12th house is the 5th from 7th. So the 5th house, from anywhere, the 5th house always deals with, because it is from 7th, from the 1st house Rashi Lagna, 5th house is the progeny. So after marriage, if they're to figure it out whether there are going to be any children born or not, what you have to look is from the 7th house, you look at the 12th house. And that's the reason why 12th house is considered as pleasures of bed. So let's go and see the other important houses that has some sort of an impact for any Netu to get married is the 2nd house, which is the Kutumbasthanamu, the 6th house, house of separations, 8th house, secret affairs, and sometimes here and there people do consider the 9th house, which is the Dharmasthanamu. Now in this chart, like I said earlier, Saturn and Venus are co-joined in the 2nd house. The 2nd house is completely spoiled because a malefic Saturn is residing there. And we know, according to the Bihuruga Sarla Paddhati, wherever Saturn resides, he yells saying that he rules that particular house. Now here Saturn owns 3rd and 4th house, residing in the 2nd house. So now Saturn yells that it owns the 2nd house, or it is the ruler of the 2nd house. It rules the 2nd house. It is the lord of the 3rd house and the lord of the 4th house. So 2nd and 4th are very important houses when it comes to marriage or marital life. Now you have the Rahu is in the 3rd house. It has nothing to worry about it. And then comes the 7th and 12th house lords. As I said, 7th and 12th house lords are Venus. It has co-joined with Saturn, the malefic. The 2nd and 5th house lords. The 2nd and 5th house lords are Jupiter. If you look at it, the 2nd and 5th house lord Jupiter are in the 8th house, which is the very bad position for the most important house to stay in the 8th house. That's the first drawback here. The second drawback is Saturn is residing in the house owned by Jupiter, which is the 2nd house. It is screaming that it owns that house too, and at the same time it is Jupiter and Saturn are having a mutual direct aspects. So the Saturn is residing in the house owned by Jupiter, looking at Jupiter, having a direct aspect with Jupiter, and at the same time it is screaming that it is the owner of the 2nd house. So the clash between Jupiter and Saturn is so bad that Saturn will do its best to make sure that the 2nd house is thoroughly spoiled. 2nd house deals with Kutumbasthanamu and Dhanasthanama. Keep that in mind, the Kutumbasthanam and Dhanasthanama. Also, since Saturn is going to create a havoc for Jupiter, Jupiter owns the 5th house, so the progeny or the possibility for the Netu to have children is also spoiled. So right here itself, you can say that the second house is spoiled, fourth house is spoiled, and the fifth house is spoiled. The seventh house is spoiled because lord of the seventh house is Venus, and then the 12th house is spoiled because the lord of 12th house is Venus, and Venus is co-joined with Saturn. To add further, what you can see is the Lagnadipati Mars is residing in the 12th house. The house that was the house lord got spoiled completely. So the house lord has no authority or no strength to support its own house. So the 12th house now became a lordless or a weak lord. And during that period, in that situation, what you noticed is that the Lagnadipati and the 6th house lord are residing in the 12th house. And this is all these things you are seeing, I am noticing it from the Rashi Lagna. Now, since the natal is a female, what usually I do is that I go back and look from Chandra Lagna. From Chandra Lagna, the most important houses are the Dushtana houses. So, from Moon, the third is Jupiter, fourth is Ketu, fifth, sixth, seventh is Mars. So, from Moon, the seventh house, you have Mars. That is a Kuja dosha for sure. Because this is a female natal, that's a Kuja dosha for sure. And then from Moon, the fifth house lord is Sun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth house lord is Sun. And that is the progeny, house of progeny. And Sun got debiliated in the 7th house. The 6th house lord is Mercury. And where is Mercury from Moon? It is in the 7th house. Remember, there is a rule which says that either from Rashi Lagna or Chandra Lagna, either of one Lagna, if the 6th house lord is in the 7th house, remember, if the 6th house lord is in the 7th house, then two things are sure to happen. One of these two things. Number one, the natal will never get married. Number two, if the natal got married, the natal will become a widow. That means the spouse will either die or will get separated. Something happens and the marital life will be completely messed up. Here, for this particular natal, from Chandra Lagna, the 6th house lord is Mercury, who is residing in the 7th house. So, even from Chandra Lagna also, when you look at it, the natal has the chart right in the D1 chart, the Rashi chart itself, it tells you that there is nothing strong enough for this particular natal to say for an astrologer to say that yes, there is some chance for this particular natal to get married. I don't see anything at this point from Rashi Lagna or Chandra Lagna. Having said that, let's try and see the other. If there is for females, you do look at the Kuja dosha from two. Found one, the position of Mars, one from Moon, the other is from Venus. So, from you, and just see if it is in a Dushtana house from either of them. We know that from Moon, it is in the Mars is in the 7th house. That is for sure it's a Kuja dosha. There's nothing more to say about it. Now we go back to Venus. From Venus, Mars, natal Venus, natal Moon, Venus, from natal Venus, natal Mars is in the 11th house. That's not a Dushtana house. So, for this particular natal, the Kuja dosha is exclusively from Moon only. Since Moon is the Matrukaraka, and from Chandra Lagna, Moon owns the 4th house, which is the Sukhasthanamo. The natal, from the mind perspective, the natal does not have that desire or doesn't get excited to get married at this point based upon the astrological chart. Let me go more in detail and see how the things are with respect to the different dasa systems, Bihuru Chakra Paddhati and Bihuru Sarla Paddhati. Now let me go and look at the same chart from Vimsottari and look at the charts Vimsottari Dasa. If you look at the Vimsottari Dasa from 2011 till 2017, that means around 2011 is 20, 21 or 22 years old, something. So the Sun Mahadasa is running during the peak period where the female theoretically gets married. That is from 2011 to 2017 for this particular native. We know that Sun is debiliated in the 12th house. Sun has co-joined with Mars, the Lagnadipati, and we know that Sun has co-joined with Mercury. From Chandra Lagna, Sun is in the 7th house. So and because of the Kuja dosha, the Sun Mahadasa did not support this particular native to get married. So now let's go to the next Mahadasa, which is Moon. Moon Mahadasa, Chandra Mahadasa started in 2017 December. So now from 2017 December, when we go and look at the Chandra Mahadasa sub details, more the Antardasa, what you can see is in 2000 first Moon Mahadasa and Moon Antaradasa is until 2018. The native did not get married. We know that Moon is because of the Moon. And then Mars Antaradasa is from 2018 till 2019 May. Because of Kuja dosha, the chances are 0 for the native to get married. Now comes the most important thing is Rahu Antaradasa. The Rahu Antaradasa is from 2019 May all the way till 2020 November. So what we have to see is from Moon, where is natal Rahu? The first and the foremost is from Moon, where is natal Rahu? From Moon, natal Rahu is in the 10th house. It doesn't matter because it is not a Tushtana house. Good. The next thing what we do is between 2019 May till 2011 November, where will be the transit Rahu? Because it's a Rahu Antaradasa, I am looking at transit Rahu. Transit Rahu will be in the 3rd house from Chandra Lagna during that Rahu Antaradasa period. So from Chandra Lagna it is in the 3rd house. It's not a Dushtana house. That's a good sign. But at the same time, that's not the house that creates a passion for the native to get married, because we are looking from the Chandra Lagna. And Moon Mahadasa, hence I am looking from the Chandra Lagna. At the same time, when you look at it, natal transit Rahu is co-joined with natal Jupiter, and natal Jupiter is the 12th house lord from Chandra Lagna. 12th house lord is pleasures of bed. So because transit Rahu has co-joined with natal Jupiter from Chandra Lagna, Rahu creates chaos, and because of that, the natal Jupiter, who is the lord of the 12th house from the Chandra Lagna, will not have, there will be chaos when it comes to the pleasures of bed for this particular native. At the same time, from Chandra Lagna, transit Rahu is having a direct aspect on the 9th house, Sagittarius, where natal Saturn is residing, natal Venus is residing, transit Saturn is residing. This is the same during the same period. So what's going to happen? This is the 12th and 9th house is from Chandra Lagna. So from 9th house, or transit Rahu is looking at the 9th house from Chandra Lagna. But what's the speciality here? Because Venus is residing in the 9th house from Chandra Lagna. So when you look at Venus from Chandra Lagna, Venus is the 2nd house lord, Kutumbasthanadipati, and Venus is also the 7th house lord from Chandra Lagna. There you go. So even from Chandra Lagna, during the Moon Mahadasa and Rahu Antaradasa, which is between May 2019 till November 2020, during this Antaradasa and Moon Mahadasa, even the Vimsottari Dasa is not supporting this particular native to get married between May 2019 and November 2020. So we have seen that the aspects are not supporting the native. We have seen the planetary positions are not supporting the native. Now we have seen that even the Vimsottari Dasa is not supporting the native to get married. So let's go and try to look at any other Dasa system or any other way to see is there any minimal possibility for this native to get married. What I am going to do right now is to take the Bhiru Chakra Paddhati, one of my favorite methodology that I use it, which will tell you it from a high level, very extremely high level. Is there a possibility? If I feel that there is a possibility from Vivah Chakra Paddhati, then I can go more deeper. But for in this presentation, I started with all the deeper parts first and then going to the higher level, because I prefer to explain you more in detail in the very first few minutes of the presentation, and once you understand the details of it, then you can go from a higher level. How does it look like? This is the Vivah Chakra Paddhati, and we all know that from November to at the age of her 30th birthday is on 30th year means 29th birthday is in November 2018, and so the 30th birthday is on November 2019. That is, now we are going to get, then she is going to do her 30th birthday. That means she is on 31st year. The 31st year according to Vivah Chakra Paddhati. In the 31st year, the cycle ruler is Venus all the way. So, and Venus will activate the 7th house according to Vivah Chakra Paddhati. That means Venus from Rashi Lagna, Venus activates the 7th house, and from its own natal position, Venus activates the 7th house. So let's go and try to see from Rashi Lagna what is the 7th house, its own house. Venus is activating its own house. So that's a very positive sign, because even though Venus is being co-joined with the malefic Saturn, remember there are two Saturns are being co-joined with natal Venus. The natal Saturn is co-joined with natal Venus, and right now during this November 2019 till January 2020, transit Saturn will be co-joined with natal Venus. So we will see natal Venus activating the 7th house, its own house. Even if it activates in November 2019, the activation, the native will not see that activation or feel the impact of that activation until transit Saturn moves from Sagittarius all the way to the Capricorn, which is the 3rd house from Rashi Lagna, and the 2nd house from Venus too. So let's assume that, forget about November 2019, forget about December 2019, January 2020. We'll start from February 2020. From February 2020 all the way till November 2020, according to Vivah Chakra Paddhati, Venus will activate the 7th house from Rashi Lagna, which is the 7th house which it owns. So Venus is activating its own house. This is a very good sign for this particular native to get married. The reason I said very good sign between February 2020 and November 2020 is because from Rashi Lagna, whatever is the 7th house, from Chandra Lagna, it is the 2nd house. So Venus is activating the 7th house from Rashi Lagna and the 2nd house from Chandra Lagna. That's a very good sign for this particular native to get married and start a family, because 2nd house is Kutumba Sthanamo. Now, the second thing is Venus also activates the 7th house from its natal position. So, wherever natal Venus is residing, from there you take the 7th house, which is the 8th house from Rashi Lagna and the 3rd house from Chandra Lagna. So, and Venus is looking directly at the 7th house from its natal position, where the 2nd and 5th house Lord Jupiter is residing. So, Venus is activating the 7th house from its natal position, but that activation will not be strong enough. The reason is, natal Venus is co-joined with natal Saturn, and this is from February 2020 onwards till November 2020, natal Venus and natal Saturn will be having a direct aspect on transit Rahu. That means transit Rahu will create a chaos in the 2nd house from Rashi Lagna, where natal Venus is residing. So now, having said that, though Venus activates 2 houses from Rashi Lagna, which is the 7th house from Rashi Lagna and the 8th house from Rashi Lagna, and 2nd house from Chandra Lagna and the 3rd house from Chandra Lagna, only one of the activation should be considered. So that means whatever the result that Venus can give between February 2020 and November 2020, only half of it is the possibility. So your possibility has dropped to 50% the possibility for this native to get married during that period has dropped to 50%. So she has only 50% possibility to get married between February 2020 and December 2020. This is according to Bihurugu Chakra Paddhati. After going through the Bihurugu Chakra Paddhati, the next thing I do is to just have a quick glance at the Bihurugu Sarala Paddhati to see are there any BSP rules that I can consider, because the Vimsotari Dasa is not supporting the need. In the D1 chart we came to I came to a conclusion that neither of the planets are supporting the planet's lordship, the planet's positions or planet aspects, and now but fortunately because of the Bihurugu Chakra Paddhati, there was a 50% hope that between February 2020 and November 2020 there's a 50% hope for the native to get married. Because with that 50% hope, what I'm trying to do is to go to the Bihurugu Sarala Paddhati and see are there any BSP rules that I can have some hope on. And if you look at it, the only one BSP rule that I see between all the 3 BSP rules that I see is at the age of 32. There's no BSP rule at the age of 31. So that doesn't mean that these BSP rules, we don't need to analyze these BSP rules, because it's there are 3 BS at the age of 32, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 BSP rules that are pertaining to age of 32. That means which starts from November 2020. Since we are thinking according to Bihurugu Chakra Paddhati, we said that there is a possibility between February to November 2020. There is a 50% possibility. So let me go and see all these 8 Bihurugu Sarala Paddhati rules, 8 of them that were theoretically supposed to start from November 2020. The only reason I am looking at is that even though they started November 2020, there is because of the 50% possibility from BCP, these rules might, I'm just saying one more time, these rules might initiate whatever the event that is going to happen before November 20, so that from November 2020 the native can see the results of these initiated events. So there are 3 BSP rules at the age of 32 that I am considering for this particular native exclusively to see what is the possibility for this native to get married. The first thing is moon activates the 2nd house from natal position. Remember, Venus, according to Bihurugu Chakra Paddhati, Venus activates the 7th house from Rashi Lagna, which it owns, and which is the 2nd house from moon. While Venus is activating the 2nd house from Chandra Lagna, moon is also activating the 2nd house from Chandra Lagna according to BSP rule. This is the most strongest possibility for this particular native to get married is the Bihurugu Chakra Paddhati giving you 50% chance, and the BSP, one of the BSP rule is saying that the chance is 100% for the event to happen, is activating the 2nd house. Activating the 2nd house means either Kutumbasthanamo or Dhanasthanamo. Either of this is possibility. The reason why I am more inclined to Kutumbasthanamo in the 2nd house is because Venus owns the 7th house from Rashi Lagna, and the 7th house is Kalatrasthanamo. The second BSP rule that I am going to look at is Jupiter will implement its 5th aspect. So wherever Jupiter is, look at Jupiter. Jupiter is in the 8th house. It owns the 2nd and 5th house from Rashi Lagna, and it owns the 12th house from Chandra Lagna. Keeping that in mind, from the 8th house, what is the 5th house? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the 12th house. 12th house is pleasures of bed. That's where the Lagnadipati is residing. That's where from moon, that is the 7th house again. So when Jupiter activates his 5th house from its natal position, it's activating the 12th house from Rashi Lagna and the 7th house from Chandra Lagna. From Rashi Lagna, Jupiter is the 2nd and 5th house lord. From Chandra Lagna, Jupiter is the 12th house lord. So this is another possibility according to BSP rule for this particular native to get married during the 32nd year, maybe during the 31st year before November 20th, things might start happening, but they might be happening, but there was no concrete way to say that yes, it is happening. By November 2020, maybe things gets concrete, and then she will see the result of her getting married. The third one I want to tell you here is the Jupiter's seventh aspect. Seventh house from Jupiter. It activates the fifth house from its natal position, and it activates the seventh house from its natal position. Seventh house from its natal position is again the second house from Rashi Lagna, which it owns. So that's where the seventh house Lord Venus is residing. So you can see here, according to Behuruga Chakra Paddhati, only Venus is activating the seventh house from its from Rashi Lagna, and the second house from Chandra Lagna. That is according to BCP rule. According to BSP rules, Moon is activating the second house from its natal position, which is again the house owned by Venus. Jupiter is activating the fifth aspect. Through its fifth aspect, it is activating the 12th house, which is again owned by Venus. And Jupiter, through its seventh aspect, activating the second house from Chandra Rashi Lagna, which is again its own house, Jupiter's own house. So Venus is activating its own house, Jupiter is activating its own house, and Moon, the Matrakaraka, the Mahadasa is running. So, and then if you look at the Vimsottari Dasa, probably Rahu Mahadasa will be done by 2020 November, which is exactly the same thing, and Jupiter Antardasa is running. So, somewhere between before 2020 November, something happens, and that will make this particular native to get an ability to get married. Will the native get married or not? It's up to the native's decision. The planetary combinations, based on the planetary combinations, I am saying that my prediction is that something happens and the native will get the ability to get married. This is another dasa system that I rarely use it, but since all the dasa, the Vimshottari dasa has, and the planetary positions have told me that the possibility is very close to zero. Behuruga Chakra Paddhati told me that the possibility is 50%, and Behuruga Sarla Paddhati is saying that no, the possibility is more than 50%. So none of them where I'm not able to get more than one concrete way of saying it. So what I did was I went and looked at another dasa system called Sudarshana Chakra Dasa. This Sudarshana Chakra Dasa, I think you can get more detail how to calculate it, all those things, either in the Saptarishi astrology website or same in the YouTube channel somewhere. I had a presentation how to calculate the Sudarshan Chakra Dasha, and I use the Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. Because I'm an IT professional, I do most of my stuff using the Microsoft Excel spreadsheets where all the automatic calculations are done. Here for this particular native, the Lagna ascendant inclination is 14 degrees 29 minutes. So as soon as you can see in the spreadsheet, as soon as I input that birth date and the inclination of the Lagna, it calculates automatically. And then the third cycle of every cycle of Sudarshana Chakra Dasa, you can see it here, there are 8 cycles. I took a maximum of 8 cycles of Sudarshana Chakra Dasa. The third cycle of Sudarshana Chakra Dasa started in May 2013 and will end in May 2025. That's the reason why I took the third cycle. So this third cycle tells me that if I want to go more in detail about Sudarshana Chakra Dasa, what exactly is going to happen, so I have to consider all the 12 houses starting May 2013, and the 12th house will end in May 2025. So let me go more in detail and analyze during the third cycle the houses that I need to consider to see if there is a possibility for the native to get married based on Sudarshan Chakra Dasa. Since we said that the possibility is very high for this particular native to get married between November 2000, somewhere during November 2020. I just picked up only the houses from Sudarshan Chakradasa to look at it. What is the possibility for this particular native? If you look at it in the Sudarshan Chakradasa, the 7th house gets activated. In the third cycle, the 7th house gets activated in May 2019 and will be for 1 year, that is May 2020. So our assumption is that between February 20, according to Bihurugu Chakra Paddhati, between February 2020 and May 2020, November 2020, there's a 50% possibility. So let's go to Sudarshan Chakra Dasa and see, is that 50% possibility, can it get amplified? If you look at it, the 7th house main cycle and the 7th house Antaradasa is from May 2019 till June 2019, nothing happened. So you can go all the way till the 2nd house, which is December 2019 till January 2020. Remember, until February 2020, nothing is going to happen for this native when it comes to marriage, getting the marriage fixed or anything that's pertaining to marriage. So only thing I can do is I can go to the 4th house, 7th house Mahadasa and 4th house Antaradasa. 4th house owned by Saturn, and natal Saturn's 3rd aspect is on the 4th house, its own house. So the 4th house, according to Sudarshan Chakradasa, 4th house Antaradasa is not going to happen. You go to the 5th house. 5th house is owned by Jupiter, and from Chandra Lagna it is the 12th house. So there is a slight possibility. Remember, I said there is a slight possibility during the 7th house Mahadasa and the 5th house Antaradasa, according to Sudarshan Chakradasa. So let's go and see when is that going to happen. The period is March 2020 till April 2020. So something, we don't know exactly what is going to happen. Something without the knowledge gets initiated for this particular native, and that initiation might be the reason for the native to get married after somewhere around November 2020. Since the 7th house cycle ends in May 2020, the next one is the 8th house. Remember, Jupiter is in the 8th house from Rashi Lagna. So there is always a possibility that since Jupiter is the 2nd and 5th house lord from Rashi Lagna and the 12th house lord from Chandra Lagna, during this time when the 8th house cycle begins, Jupiter can activate the possibility of this for this particular native to get married. Now when I look at it, the most important thing that I can see here is somewhere close to November is September 2020 to October 2020. That is when the 8th house Mahadasa will start and the 12th house Antardasa starts. The reason I said the 12th house, I was so emphasizing for the 12th house Antardasa is because during that period between September 2020 and October 2020, when the 12th house gets activated, look at it from Rashi Lagna, the 12th house is where the Lagna Adhipati is residing, and from Chandra Lagna, Jupiter himself is the 12th house lord and he is residing the 8th house. So whatever happens between March and April of 2020, from there all the way till September 2020, things might be going in a slower pace, but it won't be stopped. It will be going at a slow pace. The events will happen very slowly with so many hiccups here and there, but something happens between September 2020 and October 2020 during that 1 month period. Actually, to be honest, it will be 14th September to 14th October. That is 1 month period. Something happens during that 1 month period. That's when the native will have the full-fledged ability to decide whether to get married or not. Remember, these are all the planetary combinations. All the possibilities that I have predicted till now is all based on the planetary combinations. Will this happen? It depends on the native. If the native is willing to accept whatever the results of these planetary combinations, then it's it. So 75% These are the things that will happen. The remaining 20% depends upon the native's decision whether to accept the fact and move forward or ignore the planetary combinations. So what I'm going, here ends my presentation about analyzing this particular female native's chart. So probably the person who gave me this female native's chart, I'm in constant touch with him, and I had already informed that person to check out it during February 2020 how things are going, and again February March 2020, those 2 months, and again in September and October 2020. So by end of October 2020 I'll be knowing whether the predictions that I have, did it happen. But I don't care whether the native has accepted the outcome of these planetary combinations or not. I'm only concerned about the predictions based upon the planetary combinations. Whatever I have expected to happen based upon my astrological knowledge, did that happen? That's what I'm going to keep in touch with my friend and then get an update information about this. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you liked this video. There are many more charts that I'm going to present it here, Vivah Vilamb, and most of the time it will be some more female charts, and I'll try to get some male charts whose age is over 30 so that I can analyze even the male charts. Thank you very much.